You know what's worse than bad press? Bad press that shows up as evidence in court. Some of Hollywood's biggest stars tried to spin their scandals with carefully crafted PR moves. But instead of saving their careers, those stunts backfired in front of the judge, the jury, and the whole world. From fake apologies to books that read like confessions, these disasters prove one thing. When you mix spin with subpoenas, the courtroom always wins. And the number one PR fail, let's just say, it's so dumb. Even the lawyers were laughing. Welcome back to Celeb Courtroom Chaos, where the gossip is hot, the scandals are wild, and the legal tea is piping. Today, we're counting down the top 10 celebrity PR disasters that backfired in court. And trust me, you've seen some of these. But when you look at how badly they blew up inside the courtroom, whew, it's another level of cringe. All right, let's get into it. Coming in at number 10, Sean Diddy Combs. For years, Diddy's PR machine worked overtime to craft a single image, mogul. Not just a rapper, not just a producer, but a billionaire businessman with his hands in music, fashion, liquor, media. Basically the king of every red carpet and every boardroom. That image worked beautifully until the lawsuits started rolling in. Here's where the spin blew up. The very lifestyle his PR team sold to the public. The jets, the bottles of Ciroc, the endless parties, prosecutors reframed as evidence. They said, this isn't just luxury, this is the spoils of a criminal empire. Think about that for a second. The same magazine covers that called him a visionary were now being shown in legal filings as proof that he was living large off something shady. Every flex became a receipt. And here's the kicker. Instead of family man or music legend, his PR moves leaned so hard into kingpin energy that it gave the feds a narrative on a silver platter. One filing even compared his network of companies to an enterprise. Courtroom code for organized crime. It's a rare case where PR wasn't just useless. It was ammo for the other side. And trust me, the bigger the empire you build in the press, the louder it crashes when the subpoenas land. So, if Diddy's downfall proves anything, it's this. In the courtroom, the mogul brand doesn't make you untouchable. It just makes you a bigger target. And if you think that's wild, wait until you hear number 9. Because Bill Cosby's wholesome PR spin didn't just collapse, it made his trial worse. At number 9, we have Bill Cosby. For decades, his PR game was airtight. The sweaters, the goofy dad jokes, the pudding pops. He wasn't just a comedian, he was marketed as America's dad. The family man you could trust, the role model who turned fatherhood into primetime TV. But when dozens of women came forward with allegations of sexual assault, that carefully polished persona didn't just crack, it became Exhibit A. Here's why. Prosecutors argued that Cosby's public image was a mask, a calculated PR strategy designed to make him look untouchable. And the contrast between wholesome family man and the testimony in court? Devastating. Then the old deposition resurfaced. Cosby admitted in 2005 he obtained quaaludes to give to women he wanted to have sex with. PR mask off. One prosecutor even said in closing arguments that Cosby's America's Dad Act gave him cover for decades. Think about that. The very PR strategy that made him beloved was used as proof of how manipulative he really was. And let's not forget the interviews. Cosby went on a mini PR tour, insisting the allegations were lies and that the media was out to get him. Those denials didn't age well. When the deposition from his 2005 civil case surfaced, where he admitted to obtaining drugs to give to women, it blew up his entire narrative. Suddenly, America's dad looked like America's predator. The fallout was brutal. TV networks pulled reruns of The Cosby Show. Honorary degrees were yanked. His legacy wasn't just tarnished, it was annihilated. And here's the twist. His PR team thought leaning on his clean, fatherly image would shield him. Instead, that persona made the betrayal feel deeper, and jurors saw it as part of the crime. It's a rare case where the brand you spend decades building doesn't just collapse. It helps convict you. FYI, his 2018 conviction was overturned in 2021 by Pennsylvania's Supreme Court on due process grounds. The reputational crater? That stayed. And if you think that's a wild spin job gone wrong, wait until you hear number 8. Because Lindsay Lohan's PR defense was so ridiculous, the courtroom literally laughed out loud. Coming in at number 8, Lindsay Lohan. By the late 2000s, Lindsay wasn't just known for her movies. She was the tabloid queen. DUIs, probation violations, endless mugshots, her courtroom visits started to feel like press tours. But the biggest PR disaster came during a 2007 arrest, when cocaine was found in her jeans pocket. Now, a good PR team might say, she's in recovery, she's struggling. Something that shows accountability. But Lindsay's spin? Her lawyers claimed those weren't her pants. Yes, you heard that right. Not her pants. It instantly became a media punchline. Late-night hosts tore it apart. Headlines ran wild. And in the courtroom, prosecutors didn't even need to work that hard. When your entire defense sounds like a setup for a Saturday Night Live sketch, the judge isn't exactly sympathetic. The fallout was massive. Instead of salvaging her image, the "not my pants" excuse cemented her as Hollywood's resident train wreck. Even fans who wanted to root for her couldn't keep a straight face. And here's the thing, that one excuse wasn't just about that case. It became shorthand for every excuse Lindsay ever tried to make. Anytime she slipped up afterward, people rolled their eyes and said, "What's next?" Not her car, not her house. The PR stunt didn't just flop. It followed her for years like a bad tattoo. And the irony? That excuse was supposed to make her look innocent. Instead, it made her look unserious. And in the eyes of the court, being unbelievable is just as bad as being guilty. So if Lindsay's disaster teaches us anything, it's this. Sometimes the dumbest spin does more damage than the scandal itself. And if you think that's embarrassing, just wait until number 7. Because Tekashi 6ix9ine's PR persona didn't just collapse, it basically testified against him. At number 7, we've got Tekashi 6ix9ine. From the moment he exploded onto the rap scene, his PR strategy was crystal clear. Chaos sells. The rainbow hair, the tattoos covering his face, the constant trolling online. It was all designed to scream untouchable gangster. His brand was danger, his image was mayhem, and the controversy was marketing gold. And honestly, it worked until the feds showed up. In 2018, Tekashi was slapped with racketeering charges. That's federal speak for, we think you're basically running with the mob. And here's the kicker. Prosecutors didn't have to dig through years of secret surveillance. They just pulled up his Instagram account. Music videos showing guns, lyrics bragging about crimes, photos flashing gang signs. His entire street cred brand turned into Exhibit A. His PR persona, the very thing that made him famous, became the government's evidence binder. But it didn't stop there. Once Tekashi realized the feds had him cornered, he flipped. He testified against his own crew in exchange for a lighter sentence. And overnight, the supervillain of rap transformed into the meme-worthy super witness. The internet roasted him. His reputation in the rap world was nuked. The guy who once sold himself as untouchable was now a walking punchline about snitches. Even judges commented on how his fame made the case bigger, basically saying, you wanted attention and now you've got it. The PR fallout was brutal. His street cred image was permanently shattered. And while he's tried comebacks, the shadow of that courtroom collapse follows him everywhere. So what's the takeaway? Tekashi's PR persona didn't just backfire, it literally testified against him. And if you think using your own music videos as courtroom evidence is insane, wait until you hear number 6. Because Martha Stewart's innocent homemaker image crumbled the second she tried to spin insider trading as a coincidence. At number 6, we've got the queen of perfect table settings herself, Martha Stewart. Now, Martha's entire brand was built on trust. She was America's go-to homemaker, the woman who could make a Thanksgiving turkey, a Christmas wreath, and a multi-million-dollar lifestyle brand all in the same day. Her PR image? Flawless. Domestic goddess. But in 2004, the facade cracked. Martha was accused of insider trading after selling nearly 4,000 ImClone shares before the price tanked. Her PR team immediately went into overdrive. The line? It was all a coincidence. She wasn't tipped off, she just made a lucky business move. Cute, right? Except in court, coincidence doesn't play well. Prosecutors shredded that spin. They brought in phone records, timelines, and broker testimony. Suddenly, the perfect homemaker looked less like she was fluffing throw pillows and more like she was fluffing her portfolio with insider info. And here's where the PR really crashed. Martha doubled down on her innocence in public. She told fans she'd be cleared. She kept smiling in interviews. She even signed autographs outside the courtroom. But behind the scenes, the evidence was stacking up. In court, she was convicted of conspiracy, obstruction, and lying to investigators tied to that sale. She served 5 months in federal prison. Now, most celebrities would crumble. But here's the twist. Martha is one of the few who spun prison into a weird kind of PR redemption. She leaned into the joke. She made jail time part of her brand, even teaming up with Snoop Dogg later and winking at the hard time she served. But make no mistake, at the time, that coincidence defense was a disaster. Instead of protecting her, it turned her trial into a cultural moment where America's most trusted homemaker became a convicted felon. The moral of the story? You can decorate the prison cell, Martha, but you can't PR spin your way out of insider trading. And if you think that's a bad look, just wait until number 5. Because O.J. Simpson didn't just try to spin his image, he wrote an entire book that read like a confession. At number 5, we've got O.J. Simpson. Now, O.J.'s name has been tied to scandal since the trial of the century in 1995. After being acquitted of the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, his PR image was already radioactive. Some people still saw him as a football hero, others as a man who got away with murder. So, what did O.J. do to clean that up? He agreed to publish a book titled, If I Did It. Yes, that's real. The PR spin was supposed to be, it's a hypothetical, just a thought experiment. But let's be honest, to the public, it looked like O.J. was smirking at the biggest scandal of his life and cashing in. And in court, it became a disaster. The Goldman family, who had already won a civil judgment against him, swooped in and sued for the rights to the book. And here's where it gets deliciously ironic. They didn't just take control of the project. They redesigned the cover so the word if was practically invisible. It read loud and clear, I did it. The fallout, brutal. Instead of a comeback, O.J. handed his critics a confession-looking book they could sell themselves. Talk about a PR stunt exploding in your face. And let's not forget, even before the book, O.J. couldn't resist the spotlight. Every interview, every quote, every attempt to stay relevant just reopened old wounds. But if I did, it was the final nail in his image's coffin. The courtroom lesson here is crystal clear. When you've already been at the center of one of the most controversial trials in history, maybe don't release a book that sounds like a step-by-step guide to the crime. O.J. thought he was controlling the narrative. Instead, he gift-wrapped it for the Goldmans, and they turned it into Exhibit A of why his PR game was the biggest backfire of all time. And if you think that's shameless, wait until you see number 4, because Chris Brown's apology tour wasn't just awkward. It actually gave prosecutors more ammo. At number 4, we've got Chris Brown. Back in 2009, Chris went from chart-topping R&B golden boy to public enemy number 1 after his assault on Rihanna. The police report, the photos, Rihanna's silence at first, it was one of the most shocking celebrity scandals of the decade. Now, his PR team had one job, damage control. And their strategy? Full-blown apology tour. Chris sat down for interviews, cried on camera, told the world, I'm not a monster. He went on Larry King in a powder blue bow tie that looked more like prom night than court night. But here's where it backfired. Prosecutors were watching. Every clip, every tear, every carefully crafted line was compared to the cold, hard evidence. Rihanna's bruises, the 911 call, the police photos. And the contrast made him look even worse. It wasn't just the courtroom either. The public wasn't buying it. The interviews felt staged, rehearsed, and shallow. Instead of looking like a man taking responsibility, Chris looked like a guy trying to salvage his album sales. And judges noticed. In court hearings, his attempts to smooth over the scandal in the media were brought up alongside his probation violations, like throwing a chair through a window at Good Morning America when asked about Rihanna. PR spin about change versus courtroom reality of still losing your temper. It created a double bind. The more his team pushed the remorseful Chris narrative, the more obvious it became that his actions didn't match the words. And let's not forget the internet. Memes tore him apart. His PR tour became a cultural joke. The bow tie, the crying, the not a monster line, it all turned into symbols of insincerity. The ultimate lesson? You can't out-PR a police report. In court, crocodile tears don't hold up against evidence. And in the court of public opinion, the harder you try to spin, the faker you look. Chris thought he was fixing his image. Instead, he made it part of the prosecution's narrative and locked in one of the most infamous PR disasters in music history. And if you thought that was bad, buckle up. Because number 3 shows what happens when your own daughter drags you in court and blows up years of carefully built PR spin. At number 3, we've got Jamie Spears, the man who spent over a decade insisting he was just protecting his daughter, Britney. Now, for years, Jamie's PR narrative was airtight. He told the public he stepped in after Britney's infamous 2007 breakdown, the shaved head, the umbrella paparazzi photos, because she wasn't stable enough to manage her career or her fortune. His image? The tough but caring father, making the hard choices to keep his daughter safe. And you know what? For a while, the world bought it. The media painted him as the adult in the room, the steady hand guiding the biggest pop star on the planet. But then came the hashtag Free Britney movement. Fans started noticing cracks in the story. Britney's lack of freedom, her controlled appearances, the fact that she could headline world tours but wasn't allowed to drive a car without permission. The protective dad image was starting to smell more like a power grab. And then, Britney spoke for herself. In a 2021 court testimony that went viral, Britney described the conservatorship as abusive. She said she was forced onto medication she didn't want, prevented from removing her IUD, and treated more like a prisoner than a daughter. Her words didn't just shatter Jamie's PR spin, they demolished it. The judge heard her testimony, the public heard her testimony. And suddenly, Jamie's carefully cultivated protector image flipped into oppressor. Even the financials didn't help him. Court filings revealed he'd taken millions from Britney's estate while controlling her every move. So much for doing it all for her own good. The fallout? Massive. The court suspended him as conservator. Documentaries dragged his name through the mud, and fans who once believed he was saving Britney now saw him as the villain of her story. The lesson here is brutal. When your PR spin depends on silencing someone else, the moment they finally get to speak, it's over. Jamie thought he'd built an ironclad public image, but Britney's own voice turned that shield into a smoking crater. And if you thought that was explosive, wait until you see number 2. Because Jussie Smollett didn't just create a PR stunt, he staged one so outrageous, it became a courtroom comedy routine. At number 2, we have Jussie Smollett, a case so messy it went from headline tragedy to courtroom comedy in record time. Back in January 2019, Jussie reported that he'd been the victim of a hate crime in Chicago. He said 2 men attacked him in the middle of the night, yelled racist and homophobic slurs, poured bleach on him, and tied a noose around his neck. His PR team, they went full throttle. This was framed as a moment of courage, a celebrity speaking out against bigotry. The media jumped on it. Celebrities tweeted their support. Politicians made statements. For about a week, Jussie was a symbol of resilience. His PR stunt was working perfectly. But then, the cracks appeared. Chicago police pulled surveillance footage. They checked phone records. And suddenly, the story unraveled. The 2 attackers weren't random strangers. They were brothers Jussie actually knew, extras from the set of Empire. Oh, and they admitted he paid them $3,500 to stage the whole thing. From there, it was game over. The courtroom turned into a roast session. Prosecutors laid out the receipts, text messages, rehearsals, the infamous trip to buy supplies for the attack. The narrative that once painted him as a victim was now Exhibit A in a fraud case. The judge didn't hold back either. During sentencing, he told Jussie, "You've destroyed your life as you knew it. You wanted attention and you got it, but it was the wrong kind of attention." Ouch. The PR fallout? Catastrophic. Jussie went from being a rising star on Empire to being written out of the show. His career tanked, and his name became shorthand for one thing: a hoax. Even memes piled on. Pulling a Jussie became internet slang for faking drama. Here's the kicker. The PR stunt wasn't just a bad idea. It actually made his legal situation worse. Prosecutors argued that staging the attack wasted police resources and hurt real victims of hate crimes. In other words, his attempt to boost his career turned into the very reason he was handed jail time. The lesson? If you're going to stage a PR stunt, maybe don't leave a paper trail, a cast list, and receipts from the local hardware store. Update. In 2024, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned his convictions on due process grounds related to the earlier non-prosecution deal, a legal twist that doesn't erase the PR crater. And that brings us to number 1, the PR disaster so big, it triggered the trial of the decade. Amber Heard's op-ed, the article that blew up the internet and the courtroom. And finally, at number 1, the most infamous celebrity PR disaster to ever backfire in court. Amber Heard's Washington Post op-ed. Now, let's rewind. In 2018, Amber published an article describing herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. She didn't name Johnny Depp directly, but come on, everyone knew who she was talking about. The timing, the wording, the undertones, it was a thinly veiled reference, and her PR team knew it. The strategy was clear. Ride the hashtag #MeToo wave, position Amber as a survivor, and cement her image as a strong, fearless advocate. Hollywood loves a redemption arc, and on paper, this looked like the perfect PR move. But here's where it went nuclear. Depp's team fired back hard. They argued the op-ed wasn't just image management, it was defamation. And when the case went to trial in Virginia in 2022, the whole world tuned in. The courtroom became a stage. Every detail of their marriage was dissected. Every recording, every text, every witness turned into headline material. Amber's PR strategy, the careful article that was supposed to boost her career, was now a weapon against her. And the PR spin didn't help her credibility. On the stand, inconsistencies in her story were hammered by Depp's lawyers. Social media exploded with memes, TikToks, and live reactions. The public wasn't just watching, they were participating. It got so bad that PR experts were called in on both sides to explain how the media narratives were influencing public opinion. Imagine that. The trial wasn't just about evidence, it was about spin versus spin, and Amber's team was losing badly. The verdict? The jury awarded Depp $10.35 million net after Virginia's punitive cap and Heard's $2 million counterclaim. And they later settled appeals for $1 million paid by her insurer. Amber's op-ed, the very thing meant to secure her image, ended up costing her her reputation, her credibility, and a whole lot of money. And the fallout was massive. Depp's career, once stalled, got a revival tour, film roles, a hero's welcome at Cannes, and fans cheering his comeback. Amber, meanwhile, became one of the most polarizing figures in celebrity culture. Supporters called her brave. Critics said she staged the biggest PR flop in Hollywood history. Here's the kicker. The op-ed didn't just spark a defamation case, it changed how the world sees celebrity scandals, social media trials, and the blurred line between PR strategy and legal reality. Amber's plan was to write her narrative. Instead, she triggered the trial of the decade, and the court, not her PR team, had the final word. And that's why this lands at number 1. The op-ed that was supposed to crown her a hero ended up being the article that destroyed her. And there you have it. 10 celebrity PR disasters that didn't just flop, they backfired in court. From Lindsay Lohan's Not My Pants defense to Jussie Smollett's staged hoax, all the way to Amber Heard's op-ed turned courtroom grenade. These stories prove one thing: you can't spin your way out of evidence. But let's put it to a vote. Which one of these PR disasters do you think was the biggest self-own in celebrity history? Drop your verdict in the comments, and if you love your gossip with a side of subpoenas, hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, Hollywood always has another courtroom scandal brewing.